All right, I'm here with an updated look at my PlayStation 2 collection. It's been about 4 years since I've done an update, and PlayStation 2 is like one of my highest growing collections, just as far as you can really, if you go out pawn shops, garage sales, flea markets, you can really find PlayStation 2 stuff. You're pretty much tripping over it, and it's such a huge library of interesting stuff, and it's still pretty cheap. There's some higher end games, but you can still build a pretty comprehensive collection of PlayStation 2 games. A lot of the main like PlayStation 2 games you can get for like under 20 bucks. Some of them even under 10 bucks. So I would say it's a good, if you're looking to collect on a budget, it's a good place to go. If you're looking to, get some of the games, it doesn't really seem to be shooting up in price too much. So would recommend. But I have a lot of PS2 games I've not played or tried out, but my thought process with PlayStation 2 collecting is that I just collect stuff that I think is interesting, games that I like or series that I like as well. So kind of going into it here, I got two dot hack games to start off the collection. I feel like no one really talks much about dot hack anymore. It's kind of like the original like Sword Art Online, really, in a way. I don't. What do I know? But yeah, I got Dot Hack Infection Part 1 and Part 2. These games start to get more expensive as they go on, especially like the Dot Hack GU games. But it does, I have the picture on the spine at least started. But these are ones that I just kind of got for cheap and been trying to get more. 50-cent Bulletproof. So this is something that this is just something that doesn't happen anymore. Games are too expensive to make weird, celebrity tie-in meme games like this. And there's 50 Cent Blood on the Sand too. There's a couple different 50 Cent games, and it's just kind of a strange theory. There's a bunch of cameos from different rappers and really bad acting. It's funny. It's this interesting. I don't know who you would really do that game with anymore. So if you were to do something like this again, but it's the idea that it exists is comical. Ace Combat 5, I got this one semi-recently. I have not tried it out. I've heard good things about Ace Combat. I've never tried this series before, but I've heard people like it. I think this was a pretty late release PS2 game, if I'm not mistaken, right? No, I guess 2004. That's not too bad. I was thinking it was closer, like 2007 or something. Activision Anthology. I like having these kind of classic anthologies. This is a bunch of Activision games from the 2600 on one PS2 disc. I don't collect Atari or anything older than NES really anymore. So just to have some of these anthologies and stuff like that's a good way of having those games if I would for some reason want to play them without having to have the hardware. The Adventures of Cookies and Cream. This is actually a FromSoft developed game. A pretty interesting little game. It's cute. It's fun. It's meant to be played kind of with one controller with two people, and it's like a platformer where it's two sides of a stage, and you gotta use teamwork to get together and everything. Fun game. Definitely an underrated one. I don't know what it even goes for these days, but one to keep an eye out for. Ape Escape 2. Ape Escape 2. Weird that they always try to, parade that series around, but they never try to, do anything with it. Another one of these anthologies, this time just the Atari anthology with some classic stuff on there. Auto Modelista. This is a Capcom racing game. It has a really cool cel-shaded art style. I think this game holds some value, I think. So one to look out for if you're selling everything. But this is also a pretty cool racing game where it's like an arcade racer with a really cool cel-shaded art style. I like that one. Breath of Fire 5, Dragon Quarter. One of the times I was in Japan, I picked this up. I don't know if that got released over here. I think it did. I just got it because it was cheap. A legendary French copy of Britney's Dance Beat that I own for whatever reason. I just stumbled upon it at a pawn shop. I thought it was funny that it was there. It was a French copy. Bully. I know people really like this one. I've never played through this one too extensively, but I know people are always kind of going around trying to ask Rockstar for a new Bully game, but I think they've kind of moved on to bigger and better things. which is a shame. It was cool when Rockstar used to just put out a bunch of random stuff. Now, I mean, they put out one game last generation that was, original and not just the port of Grand Theft Auto 5. And it looks like they'll put out one game this generation. So, Choro Q, this is like I think Choro Q came over here as Penny Racers to the United States and everything, but just a little racing game. I played as a kid. There was a Choro Q game they localized as just being called Road Trip. I remember having that on Game Boy Advance. Clock Tower 3, kind of an interesting one that just Capcom took over this series and made a survival horror game. I've not finished this one, but for what I played from it, it was fine. Clock Tower is an interesting series, but I'm surprised we don't. And I know we're getting like a kind of remake, kind of port of the original one. But interesting series. I'm surprised Capcom's not tried to do more, but maybe they have to share with the profits or whatever with Sunsoft might make them less likely to care. Contra Shattered Soldier. The copy's in kind of rough shape. Might need a artwork upgrade at some point. Cold Winter. I found this for cheap, and then someone in my YouTube comments told me it was a pretty good one, so I kept it. I got paid like $1 for it. I have not tried it, so whoever in my YouTube comments told me it was a good one, thanks. Crash Nitro Kart. Not as good as the original Crash Team Racing. It's fine. I have the whole Crash, like the 3-pack, but I don't have the outer box for it. So Crash Tag Team Racing. They did 2 Crash racing games on PS2, man. You're just on your roll. Crash Twinsanity. This one's kind of interesting. It's just a weird one. It's as far as the Crash games that were after the Naughty Dog games, but before the Crash 4. This is probably the best of the lot. And that's not saying too much, but this game's pretty good, and I like the weird acapella soundtrack. Something about that is just funny to me. I don't know. I got 2 here. Dark Cloud and Dark Cloud 2 I have. These are pretty cool games. I haven't finished either of them, but they're pretty interesting RPGs with some town building aspects. Level 5 developed, Sony published. Series, I don't know. Level 5 used to put out so much, and I know they've had some financial problems, but they've really been pretty quiet lately. Hopefully, I think they're trying to make a comeback, and they're awesome. I mean, they had a great run on the PS2 and the DS and everything, and I think Yokai Watch, they put all their bags in the Yokai Watch, all their eggs in the Yokai Watch basket, and I think that it didn't turn out as they would have hoped. Let's move over here. Dawn of Mana. I can't say I've played this one that I remember at least, but so many Mana games, and then they kind of backed off for a little bit. I know the new one they're putting out, I think next month, as of time of this video coming out, it's pretty cool, but I don't know. The Devil May Cry games. I don't have anything new to say about Devil May Cry that hasn't already been said. Second one's pretty bad. First one, I think 3 is the best of these ones. The first one's a little bit hard to go back to just with the weird camera angles and everything. And once again, classic PlayStation 2 games that you can get here, and they're pretty inexpensive to grab these. So ones to keep an eye out for. Donald Duck Goin' Quackers. This is like a Crash Bandicoot-like Donald Duck platformer. Dragon Quest VIII, another level 5, developed this one for Square Enix. And this is one I'd like to sit down and play like all the way through at some point. It just looks good, but I've not played all the way through it. Haven't played these ones at all. I've had these in the collection for a while. These were actually garage sale finds, $4 each at a garage sale. Garage sale started Wednesday, and I was there at Saturday, and these were still sitting out. I couldn't believe it. But Drakengard, Yoko Taro's kind of original, connected to Nier in some way series, and Drakengard 1, I haven't played it. It looks rough. I mean, it doesn't look very good, but I don't know. I'd like to at least experience them at some point, but someone tell me if they're good down in the comments. At least the second one is, because they don't look great. Dynasty Warrior 4 Empires. Always end up with a Muso at some point. Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future. I think they should make a brand new AAA, quadruple A even, Echo the Dolphin game. I don't know why we haven't got that, but I think they should do that. Ephemeral Fantasia. I got this at a game store. It was cheap, and I'd never heard of this one before. It's just a turn-based JRPG that you would kind of expect. I always think PS2 has some really cream of the crop, JRPGs, some really good stuff, but overall, there's a lot of junk. There's a lot of not so great games as well. It was not the peak era. You had the Super Nintendo, and then you had the PlayStation, which are just like peak for JRPGs, and then PS2 got some good stuff mixed in. You got kind of the highs of like some of the AAA stuff there with like Final Fantasy X, Persona 3 and 4, and then you get some not so great stuff. Eternal Poison. I bought this years ago at a game convention for not very much, and it really shot up in price. I've not played this one, but it's at least Atlas published. I don't think they developed it. Who developed this? Flight Plan. They published it over here though. Pretty late release PS2 game. I just thought the art style looked cool. Flipnik. It's a pinball game. Some Final Fantasy here. Final Fantasy X, which I think is awesome. Final Fantasy X is one of the best, I would say, and one of my favorite turn-based combat systems in any game. Just a ton of fun. Simple, but just really, intuitive, really just, it's just rewarding. I like it a lot. I've never played Final Fantasy X-2, surprisingly, and Final Fantasy 12, I've never been able to. I've tried maybe 3 different times to get into Final Fantasy 12, and I've never been able to get into it. It's just, I don't think it's for me. It's more of like the MMO style gameplay, and it's not really my thing here. So, I've tried. I've made the attempt. Fireblade. I don't have anything to say about Fireblade. Gallop Racer 2001. I just got this one from a garage sale, and I just thought the idea was funny that there's a horse racing sim game out there, so figured I'd add it to the set. These are interesting ones. I'm surprised Sony's never tried to do more with like The Getaway. It's like their kind of London crime. It's like I hate to say it, it's an open world kind of crime game. It was probably they were going for a Grand Theft Auto, but it's distinct enough. I just got the second one recently. I've never tried out the second one, but I've played a little bit of the first one, and it's interesting. I'm surprised that they haven't done anything more with these. These were Sony London, Soho Studio, and that Sony London did these. Sony London is dead and buried now, so odds are they're not going to do anything with this series. But I'm surprised they never really tried to do any more with it. And Grandia 2. This is the port of the Dreamcast game. Growlancer Generations. I actually got this at a garage sale for like $1. Good shape and everything. Nice and big, thick manual, 2 discs, good stuff. This is, I think, one of the last games that Working Designs published. You can't even close the game with how big that is. I think one of the last games Working Designs localized and published, and I always thought Working Designs was just pretty cool. They were kind of like the OG. We got a lot of companies like Atlas did it for a while. They don't anymore, but NIS America, Xseed, all these kind of companies who identify games from Japan and then bring them over here, localize them. And I know people weren't always crazy about Working Designs as translations and localizations, but I do think that they were pretty ahead of their time. That they were doing this in the 90s, and this is a pretty early release PS2 game. So it's interesting that this came over. But Growlancer is one of those series that's kind of always been going on in the background. Hard Hitters Tennis. I just thought it was funny that Atlas published this tennis game. I don't know why, but might as well. Harvest Moon, Wonderful Life. I'm not the biggest Harvest Moon fan, but I feel like I just kind of trip on them. This is another newer one. I've heard this is good. I've heard this is a good one. Traveler's Tales developed it. The character design, I think, is horrendous. This is awful character design, but I've heard this is a pretty good PS2 era platformer, which I really like. The PS2 era for platformers. I've always liked that, so maybe one to throw in sometime. Got some Hitman games here. Hitman 2 and Hitman Blood Money. So the Hulk, the one based off of the 2003 movie, I've not tried. I don't think this specific one. The Hulk Ultimate Destruction. I have that on GameCube. That's a pretty good one as far as Hulk ones go. I usually keep like the licensed Marvel games in the collection, just for why not. IGPX Immortal Grand Prix. I got this a long time ago. It was like 75 cents or something. I don't know. It was an anime at one point, right? iNinja. Who developed this one? I'm trying to think. It was someone, Argonaut, who was like a Star Fox developer and everything. But iNinja, just another little PS2 platformer. Jade Cocoon 2. Jade Cocoon was like this weird, I don't want to say rip-off, but like Pokemon-like game that they were bringing over here. I think they only did 1 and 2. But Jak and Daxter, I don't have Jak 2 or 3, surprisingly. I have Jak and Daxter, which I don't really like where they went with Jak. The first Jak is like a pretty fun little platformer, kind of Banjo-Kazooie-esque. Really impressive for the time, just the lack of loading screens and everything. I think it kind of went lame when they, tried to make it edgy. He has a gun now. He drives a car. It's like, oh, whatever. I have the Lost Frontier, which was a PSP game that they ported over to PS2 pretty late in the lifespan. That Ready at Dawn made, I think, before they got bought by Facebook. No, High Impact did this one. Ready at Dawn did something else, I think. They did the PSP God of Wars, maybe, I don't know. But they have, I've heard not great things. And then Naughty Dog actually did Jak X, the racing game. I just a shame that they never, they did 3 games and a kart racer for Crash. They did 3 games and a kart racer for Jak. 3 games and a kart racer for Uncharted didn't happen. We just got 4 games. It can still happen for Last of Us. We can get a Last of Us kart racer if we have Naughty Dog do that. If we ask nicely. Kingdom Hearts 1. I also have Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 1, I don't really... Kingdom Hearts is one of those things where I'm like, this is fun, just running around the Disney World. Pretty fun, but simple combat as far as it goes, but it's enjoyable. I just don't really like Kingdom Hearts 1. I think it hasn't aged the best, and I just think I'm not huge on it. But Kingdom Hearts 2 is good, and I'm interested to see where they go with it. I don't pretend like I know the story or anything like that, though. King of Fighters 98 Ultimate Match. Cool to have. I can't pretend that I can talk authoritatively of, on fighting games, so I'm not going to. King of Route 66, which Sega's like AM2 Studio did this. This, I believe, is a follow-up to the 18-wheeler game on Dreamcast, and it is just a, game, semi-truck racing game. It's no Big Mother Truckers, but not everything can be. Legaia 2, I got this really cheap at a Goodwill one time. I've not heard good things about this one, though. People like Legaia 1, but I don't think Legaia 2 has the same. Mega Man X8. This is the only of the Mega Man X ones I have on PS2. The Mega Man X did not translate great over to the PlayStation 2, in my opinion. But that's okay. I have more Metal Gear that we'll get to. I keep all my big box stuff at the end of the collection, so we'll get there eventually. But right now I have Metal Gear Solid 3. This is just the regular version, not the subsistence one. I wouldn't bother with the regular version just because the subsistence version is just such a huge improvement. Nowadays I'd say go play the Blue Point remaster on PS3 and 360. But yeah, Snake. I think Metal Gear Solid 3 is great. Myst 3 Exile. They have Myst 3 on PlayStation 2. I'm trying to make it so you can stack this and look good. Onimusha Warlords and Onimusha 2. I don't have Onimusha 3. Another one I'm just surprised Capcom's not done anything with. More of a character action, kind of Resident Evil-y character action game in ancient Japan. Pretty cool. I know the third one has that actor, I forget his name, in it, so I'm sure that game is never being re-released. But they've never re-released 2 either. Only the first one's ever been re-released, but kind of a cool franchise. But Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast. This is a pretty cool arcade racer. Kind of expensive, a pricier one on PS2, believe it or not. Especially on Xbox, it's pricey as well, but it's a pretty cool one. Pac-Man Fever. The pack is back, guys. We got Pac-Man World 2, which is a pretty fun little platformer. I don't think I've played Pac-Man World 3. I won't say I never have. I don't remember if I have or not. Pac-Man World 3. And then the Pac-Man World Rally racing game. That's also the Pac-Man 3 pack that I don't have the outer box. But the pack is back is all I can say. Persona 3 FES. Maybe 2 years ago I would recommend playing this version of it if you want to play Persona 3. But now I would just say play Persona 3 Reload on modern consoles. But I think FES is a cool game for its time. It's a little bit dated. Some of the gameplay is dated, but the story is still really cool and characters are still really cool. And now you have a pretty much perfect way to experience the game on modern hardware. So I don't have Persona 4 on PS2. I only ever played it on Vita. Phantom Brave. They're actually making a new Phantom Brave game, and they announced it at that Nintendo Direct. I was pretty surprised. That's one of NIS's, and NIS has their own in-house games that they publish and develop. Disgaea and Phantom Brave are, the two big ones, but they usually just publish other companies' games. The Pinball Hall of Fame Williams Collection. Got some Prince of Persia. Prince of Persia Sand of Time is a classic. That's definitely a PS2 era classic title. And pretty cool. I know they're working on that remake, but who knows when that'll ever come out. Warrior Within is when they this had Godsmack, was it? They had Godsmack in here, and it's hardcore and it's edgy and it's epic. It's like the Shadow the Hedgehog of Prince of Persia. All right, let's keep going here. PsyOps, the Mindgate Conspiracy. With a name like that, how could you not be all in? Some Ratchet and Clank. Am I already to the... I feel like I'm going fast through this today. Usually I'd be 40 minutes and I'd be at this point. I guess. I don't know. Ratchet and Clank. It's kind of funny. I have a bunch of them, so I'll pull them all out. Up Your Arsenal. Ratchet and Clank's classic. And I don't think any of these games are super expensive either, going commando. And then Deadlocked. I don't think any of these, if these are kind of essential classic PS2 games, especially the three main ones. And I don't think any of these are super expensive either. A lot of fun. And I really like that they're still... Sony doesn't usually continue series, but they've, stuck to Ratchet and Clank. And I like that they've kind of continued with that series. And I liked the Rift Apart. I thought that game was great. So they have definitely been... They were a little bit edgier. You got that teen-rated kind of cartoon mascot, and they're a little bit more... we got guns. And I know I just said that it was lame with Jack, but we already had Ratchet doing it. We didn't need Jack doing it. I don't know. And Ratchet and Clank is way funnier. It's actually funny and everything. So... yeah, I just would say, they've sanitized it a little bit, but still, classic series. Red Faction. This was, Volition, who got shut down, but they kind of were known for their destructible environments, especially with, Red Faction Guerrilla and everything. Resident Evil 4. Shinji Mikami said he would cut his head off if this game ever left GameCube, and... he has to do that several times over now, because so many times. But Resident Evil 4, all-time classic. Awesome remake of it, too, but the original still worth playing. I recommend the GameCube version more than the PS2 version, but it's up to you, whatever you play. Resident Evil Code Veronica X. So this is the kind of in-between game that they had for Dreamcast originally, but they brought it over once they realized, hey, Dreamcast is not exactly shaping up. And I would assume they're going to remake this at some point. It's pretty integral, actually, to the overall Resident Evil story. It's pretty much a main game, but not numbered. So, Risk for PS2. You might be wondering why my next game in my collection is Kinetica when I'm in the R's. I have no idea. I don't know why Kinetica is all the way back here. This is a pretty cool racing game. This was like the only non-God of War game Sony Santa Monica's ever done. You know, Sony Santa Monica proper has done. Everything else they've done is God of War. Up to this point, I'm sure they're working on something that's not God of War, but for now. Rogue Galaxy, another awesome level 5 RPG. Cool art style. Cool game. Some of these are on that, you know, the PS4, PS5, as they're kind of bringing over PS2 games. So that one I know is on there. Romance of the Three Kingdoms 7. This is a series I really have no experience with. What do we got here? Second Sight. Free Radical developed this one. I got this one not too long ago. I've heard it's an interesting game. Sega Genesis Collection. There's so many Genesis collections. This one is pretty solid. I recommend the one on PS3, and then if you want something more modern, I'd recommend there's one on Switch as well. And I mean, NSO has most of the, you know, Genesis games that you'd probably want to play anyway. But we need more. Sega needs to give us Saturn collections, and I know emulation for Saturn's a little bit tough, but we need Saturn collections. We need Dreamcast collections. I know there was that one on 360 that had like 4 games. We need more than just Genesis. Give us a Master System collection. I don't know, just anything but Genesis right now. We've already had enough. Shell Shock, Nam 97. So this is actually Guerrilla, who's known for Killzone and Horizon now, but they did this before getting bought out by Sony. So kind of interesting there. Shining Force Neo. Is this the most recent Shining Force game? It might be. I don't know. I remember I had some trade credit I needed to use, and that game was there, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Shining Tears. I got this while I was in Japan as well, because it was cheap. I don't know if we got that one or not over here. Silent Hill 2, one of my all-time, probably, I would say my favorite PlayStation 2 game, Silent Hill 2, and then one of my all-time favorite games. It's just an incredible game. And the fact that this is something that they put out in 2001 is really impressive. It still holds up really well today. And man, Konami used to be so good. I don't know. I'm nervous about this Silent Hill 2 remake because I don't really trust Bloober Team to make something that great. And I don't know. But the original will always exist, so that's all that matters. Unfortunately, Silent Hills, there's such a demand for Silent Hills that these are, you know, million-seller games and they are still expensive, so... Silent Hill 3 is actually one I had not played until last year, 2023. I played it for the first time all the way through. And it's a great one as well. This is another really impressive game. 2003, this one came out. And it's fantastic also. I've played so I haven't played Silent Hill 4. I have this one. I haven't played that one at all. This is the last of the Japanese developed Silent Hills. And... probably play this one soon, maybe around Halloween or something, but I don't know why it's taking me so long to get to these, but especially since I'm a big, you know, survival horror fan. Oh man, I just knocked the camera. But yeah. I also have this one. This was actually garage sale find. This has gotten pretty hard to come by, pricey these days. Silent Hill Origins. I've heard as far as the Western developed ones that this one's pretty good too. This was a PSP game as well. I watched a documentary on like the making of this game. There's this really good channel on YouTube, Gaming Muse. I definitely recommend their Silent Hill like documentaries. They're really good stuff, really well researched and well done. So there's Objo's recommendation of the day. Siren. So Siren was the original creator of Silent Hill. Went over to Sony, did the Siren survival horror series, which was known for like its really weird kind of facial animation on the characters and stuff. That's very kind of uncanny looking nowadays, but it was, you know, pretty advanced for the time. And he then did with Sony did the Gravity Rush games, and then is now at his own studio doing that game Slitterhead that comes out later this year. That's a horror game as well. So looking forward to that one, trying that out. Slitterhead. Sly Cooper 2, and Sly Cooper 3. I think these games are a lot of fun. Sucker Punch trilogy of PS2 games. There's also a fourth one that they did that was developed by, what's that team? They're owned by Facebook now. Sanzaru. As well, they did like the HD remaster and then this. And these are really cool games. I like these a lot. I think they're a lot of fun. And I would say I like Ratchet and Clank, but I think I like Sly Cooper better of the PlayStation mascots. Spectral Force Chronicle. This is another one I got in Japan. I don't even remember having this one, to be honest. Sonic Riders, the Sonic. I've never liked these Sonic Riders very much. Like, I'm fine. The Space Channel 5. I like Space Channel 5 on Dreamcast a ton. It's one of my favorite Dreamcast games. It's just a lot of fun. Quick little game you can run through. So I don't think I've tried this PS2 version, because there's a second one on PS2. I don't think I've tried. I think this is just a port. I don't know if I've tried this. I don't remember. I mean, it's just an iconic Dreamcast game for me, though. Spyro Enter the Dragonfly. I'm not a fan of these post-Insomniac Spyro games. Spyro Eternal Night. The post-Insomniac Spyro games, just no thanks. Stella Deus, I don't know. This is an Atlas title. I got this one in Japan as well, but this did come over here. I didn't realize, but I mean, look at that. That is that classic like Shin Megami Tensei Persona art style. Super cool looking. Some Star Trek games. I don't even know I don't care about Star Trek, so I'm not really sure why I kept these. But some Star Trek games. I have nothing to say about those. Star Wars Battlefront 2. I don't have the first one. Do I not have the first Star Wars Battlefront? Oh, I have it on Xbox, not on PlayStation. Okay. Weird. Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 were like, I had a GameCube as a kid, but I had friends who had Xbox and PlayStation 2, and those were like the go-to, like when I'm at a friend's house, we were always playing Star Wars Battlefront. These classic Star Wars Battlefronts were so fun. I know they did like the Star Wars Battlefront collection on like modern consoles, but I think they messed it up with the online play, and I don't know. But a lot of fun with those ones. Star Wars Bounty Hunter. There's a lot of Star Wars on PS2. There's Star Wars Jedi Starfighter. Star Wars Racer Revenge. It's no Super Bombad racing, that's for sure. I didn't realize the developers of ATV Off-Road Fury did this. Interesting. It's no Super Bombad racing. Suikoden 4. I'd like to make a run. I've never played this one. I'd like to make a run through all the Suikoden games. I know 1 and 2 HD are coming to modern consoles soon, so that'll save me from having to pay an arm and a leg for physical versions to play them at least. So I'd like to actually kind of play that, because I've heard that's one of the all-time best game or JRPG series. I also have Suikoden Tactics, which until I found this at a convention, I never knew existed. So I like tactics games a lot, so that'll be, I guess, a good one to have. Summoner, I believe this was a launch title, right? Yeah, 2000. Volition developed this one as well. They are dead and buried, like I said earlier. But yeah, this is a launch title. From my understanding, not very good. But that was like one of the marquee. The PlayStation 2 had a lot of games at launch, and there was nothing super great. Superman Shadow of Apocalypse. I mean, the only thing you can really say is that it's at least better than Superman 64. Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. This is kind of like a Monkey Ball Greatest Hits, where they ported over some weird kind of combination of Monkey Ball 1 and 2 over to PlayStation 2. Classic Monkey Ball is awesome, though. The first 2 games on GameCube are just great. Taiko Drum Master. I also have the big box for this with the Taiko Drum Master drum. These are great. If you ever played these I've played these a lot in Japan, but I think they have them in places like Round 1 or Dave & Buster's too. I'm not entirely sure, but just a drumming rhythm game. The set list is interesting on this one, to say the least. So I mean, you definitely got that. You got the Jimmy Neutron theme song, and I'm a Believer. I'm gonna guess that's gonna be the Smash Mouth version, and My Sharona. So definitely an interesting set list. It kind of reminds me of the Donkey Konga set list, where it's very, very strange. Taito Legends 2. This one actually, I think, holds some value, but a collection of some old Taito games. Just fun to have. Tales of Destiny 2. I don't think we got this one at all over here in the United States. This is, again, another copy I got while I was in one of my trips to Japan. I don't remember probably my first one, I'd imagine. I was buying more PS2 stuff on that trip, so I'm going to guess probably then. All right, let's keep going. Tales of Legendia. This one's Pretty different from the other Tales games. I had not played too much into this one. It was not. I like the Tales games, but that was not one that really spoke to me. Tales of Rebirth. I don't think this one came over too. So another one I got when I was in Japan. Tekken 4. Tekken Tag Tournament. Tetris Worlds. I mean, you can't. I don't think it's possible to have a game console library where you don't have a Tetris game on it in some way. And I'm sure it actually is. Don't make a comment about that, or do. I don't really care. Time Crisis, Crisis Zone. I don't have the Gun Con for PS2. I have one for PS3 though. Time Splitters 2, pretty classic, well-regarded FPS from the era, console FPS. I know a lot of people went over from Rare after GoldenEye and worked on the Time Splitters games and everything. And I know they were bringing Time Splitters back and then just kind of killed it last second. So, shame. Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness, not, one of the better ones. Transformers, I'm not a big Transformers fan, but, I have this. Unlimited Saga. I got in trouble for saying that no one cares about Saga in one of my Nintendo Direct announcements, but I don't know. If you like the Saga series, please explain to me what's awesome about it, what's great about it. I've yet to really get it. What I do get is what's awesome about freaking Larry Boy and the Bad Apple. My copy's still sealed. That's how awesome it is. Don't even need to play it to know how epic it is. I think it's really funny that we got a VeggieTales video game. I just think that's awesome. Beautiful Joe and Beautiful Joe 2. Classic Capcom Kamiya games. Just a lot of fun. I know they have some other... those are the only ones I have are those two. Virtua Fighter 4. I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about fighting games. Wild Arms 3. I've heard great things. I'd like to play Wild Arms 1. I've heard great things about the Wild Arms games. I've heard 3's not, fantastic, but it's, what is it? Game Arts made these, I believe. And I know there's like a spiritual successor Kickstarter that happened. But yeah, I've not played Wild Arms 3. And I know they went on with it. We'll get to that in a minute, but Worms 3D, just another Worms game. Worms is one of those series that's been around forever, and it's just it's kicking. Got this one recently, X Squad. This is just an interesting one, just in the fact that this was kind of from that era where Square Enix teamed up with Electronic Arts in the United States, and it became Square Electronic Arts. This was Squaresoft before they merged with Enix, I should say. So there was Square Electronic Arts games, and then trying to, I think, be a little bit more appealing to the Western audience. Didn't really work, but oh well. The Xenosaga games. People are going to hate me for this. So I got these games so long ago in a eBay lot. A lot of my JRPGs came, and I got a JRPG lot, and yeah, that is the lenticular cover version of Xenosaga 3 that was only at Best Buy. A lot of my JRPGs for PS2 came in an eBay lot that I got in like 2013 for like $50 for just a stack of them, and these 3 were in there. And I know, Monolith developed these. These are important, and I like the Xenoblade games, but I tried the first Xenosaga, and I really did not like it, and I've not tried the other ones. So I know, especially Xenosaga 3, especially the lenticular one, is a pretty expensive game, so people are going to probably hate that I have it. I've never played it. It's sitting in my collection, but, it's just the way it is sometimes, I suppose. Yakuza. So the first Yakuza game, pretty cool. I understand why the Yakuza series based on this one, and I've not played the PS2 version of Yakuza 2 minus sealed, so I'm mainly talking about Yakuza 1. I understand why these didn't immediately pick up over in the United States. They were kind of trying to advertise them as Japanese GTA, which, if you know anything about Yakuza, is not even remotely accurate, like not even close. I mean, they're both open world games, but it's not even, there's no driving in Yakuza. Like it's not, you don't have guns and stuff like that. So it's really not even close, but Yakuza 1, it's very impressive for the time. It's definitely feels more of like a continuation of Shenmue than anything. Without all the BS of Shenmue and the time and waiting around and everything. And it's neat. It has a very horrible dub for the time, and Mark Hamill's in it, and it's very, very fascinating. But I understand that why these didn't pick up. The first one I played when I got into the series was Yakuza 3 on PS3, and I would say there is where I could see things starting to pick up a little bit. But Yakuza 1 and 2, don't really recommend the PS2 versions, but they both got really good remakes, the Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2, so I would just play those remakes. Zapper, One Wicked Cricket. Shout out all of the Zapper fans out there. Just, I see ya. Zone of the Enders, Kojima's game that sold well because it had a Metal Gear Solid 2 demo in there. That was genius, but kind of a cool game. Not really my style. I'm not huge into like stuff like this, but cool, and I'm a big Kojima fan, so gotta respect. Magna Carta. This is a Korean RPG. Pretty interesting game. Atlas brought it over here and has this cool outer box and everything, but pretty cool. Definitely a gem there for sure. Kind of a more hidden gem. Star Ocean, Till the End of Time. I have nothing to say about it. Star Ocean is an interesting series. Some hits and some misses, but I don't know specifically much about that one. I haven't played the Star Ocean, the HD 2D second story. That looks awesome. I'd like to play that at some point, but I haven't played that one. Wild Arms 5, this was just a pawn shop find I got for really cheap, and this one, the full box and everything. Haven't played it because I haven't, played through that series, but was cool to get. So I said I'd talk about Metal Gear. I have the Metal Gear Essential Collection, which has the Metal Gear Solid 1 in a PlayStation 2 style case. They made it like a trilogy package. Metal Gear Solid 2 is my favorite one. I know that's a weird opinion, but go back and look at some of that stuff that's going on in that game. It's eerily predictive of the future. In Kojima's games always kind of are predictive of the future. I wish he would make a game about me where I'm like really happy and doing really well. That would be awesome. Metal Gear Solid 3, this is the subsistence version, to my knowledge, right? I don't know. So, funny story for me, the only time I've played through Metal Gear Solid 3 all the way, I've played a little bit of the HD one, but I've played through it all the way on the 3DS version. So, I was late to the party. I played it all the way through on the original model 3DS, no circle pad because I couldn't find one at any of the stores, just with the buttons. That's the first time I played through Metal Gear Solid 3. So I'm looking forward to the remake. It's going to be a step up from that 3DS version, but cool little trilogy pack there. Great games across the board. And then I bought this. I just thought this thing was cool. When I was in Japan. This is the last game. When I was in Japan, I got this. I think it was maybe like 800 yen, so hardly anything. This Ark of the Lad premium box, and it's just a really big box. I don't know. Thought it was cool looking. No clue. I don't know too much about the Ark of the Lad series either. I don't know. PS2 is full of a lot of... I play a ton of JRPGs, and I would say I'm pretty knowledgeable about some JRPG series, but PS2 is just full of all those blind spot JRPG series, like Wild Arms, Suikoden, all that kind of stuff. It's like a lot of blind spots for me, so I gotta give those a shot at some point. But I made it to the end. I made it through my PS2 collection, over 100 games. I wanted to keep it under an hour, and luckily I've been able to do that. Some stuff I don't need to spend 5 years talking about. So leave a comment down below with some of the PS2 games that are your favorites, some that I should add to my collection. I'm always looking for recommendations. Some that I have, and I haven't, I've said I haven't checked out. Any that you recommend me checking out. Maybe I'll throw them up closer on the backlog. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Leave a like if you enjoyed. And until next time, I'd like to thank you for watching.